month since the death of George Floyd gripped the nation. For 8 minutes and 46 seconds, we watched a man die with an officer's knee on his neck. The images stirring anger seated in centuries of racial oppression.
My people don't want no trouble. We finna no struggle. I just wanna live.
Protesters took to the street across the country and the world. Officers hearing demands, some feeling attacked.
This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it. Stop treating us like animals and thugs, and start treating us with some respect.
Protesters in Indianapolis asking for the same.
People are fed up, and they want change, and we're not going to stop until there's change.
Peaceful demonstrations followed by violence and vandalism, leading to a curfew. We saw images of hope.
I feel like our message was heard by some at least.
And images that brought back a painful past, now being relived in the present. 70 days later, a grand jury indicted 2 officers seen hitting a woman with a baton. IMPD also updating its use of force policy, something the community called for since 2017, after officers shot and killed Aaron Bailey, an unarmed driver who had fled from police. Mayor Joe Hogsett also promising reform, rolling out officer body cameras and partnering with the NYU School of Law to evaluate law enforcement in the Circle City. And just last week, Governor Eric Holcomb announcing a review of Indiana's law enforcement training.
It won't be easy. It won't happen overnight. But oftentimes, the best view comes after the hardest climb.
Tonight, as the country grapples with a generational call for equity.
What we see here today is growth, because back in the 50s and 60s, it was mainly blacks marching together, but now it's a whole melting pot of the community.
We are bringing together police and community leaders to assess if progress has happened over the last 90 days. And to lay a path forward for the work that still needs to be done.
And now we'll begin. Thank you for joining our town hall. Tonight we gather for an important but difficult conversation about racism, inequality, and accountability.
And we want to start out by being straightforward tonight. You know, this is a conversation that can be uncomfortable at times, but it is a crucial component, a starting point for any significant change. You know, since the 60s and Jim Crow laws of segregation, we have made progress. Our police forces today are more diverse than ever. There are more black police chiefs and officers in the ranks than at any other time in history, including right here in Indianapolis. There were police shootings, as you know, of 2 black men just this weekend, one in Lafayette, Louisiana, and one in Kenosha, Wisconsin. We are still waiting for the investigations to be completed, but the impassioned responses from those communities is real. This is a conversation I think we'll all agree is needed.
And we know that we won't be able to address, let alone solve, the complex issues of systemic racism. But here's what we hope to achieve today. We want to evaluate the effectiveness of actions taken since May and look ahead at what further changes are needed. Also, identifying issues that have yet to be addressed.
To do that, we brought together just a few of the many voices that have unique insight and input in helping to shape the future of our community. So we want to get started with IMPD Chief Randall Taylor. Chief, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we know that this conversation around police brutality, reform, it has been happening for decades in our community. But we're talking about Kenosha and Lafayette today. But we know the death of George Floyd on Memorial Day. And even 2 weeks earlier, Dre'Jon Reed here in Indianapolis seemed to reignite that discussion. Now, when you first saw the George Floyd video, you added your voice. So I want to play a bit of what you said 3 days after Floyd's death.
I saw the video just like the rest of the nation did. And even as a seasoned law enforcement officer, I couldn't wrap my mind around how you have your knee on that guy for that long when he's telling you can't breathe. You know, you had officers that made a huge mistake and it cost a man his life.
It's been 3 months now. We've learned new developments. We've also seen new body camera video. So as an officer of more than 30 years, what is the mistake you saw? And does IMPD training prevent your officers from doing the same thing?
Yeah, well, the mistake still remains the same. you know, the knee on the back and his ability not to breathe. We don't train to that, and I hope and I'm positive that my officers will listen to people when they're saying those kind of things. I think we do a great job of getting people in positions where they can breathe, especially when we have enough support officers there to make sure that the officers are safe as well as the person that we're dealing with.
And so, Chief, just to follow up here on that, so in an instance like what we saw, what would you expect or have trained your officers to do in order to restrain a suspect?
Well, in his case, Mr. Floyd's case, you know, he really wasn't causing much of a problem. He was down. We may put someone down on the ground for a brief period of time, but once we have them cuffed, we're usually putting them in a position to make sure that they can breathe fine. There are a number of officers there, and as long as we have the support officers, we would make sure that person could breathe, and we'll really probably transport them, at least put them in the squad car or wagon if we had it.
Well, let's bring this a bit closer to home here. We know that Hoosiers, they've been putting a spotlight on Dre'Jon Reed, a black man who was shot and killed by one of your officers, also a black man. This was after a chase. You've reported the officer used a taser and there was a gunfire exchange, and since then there have been several protests. We know there are questions out there. Now, when that police chase started, you were a part of it. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, I can tell you up to an extent. When I was heading home northbound on 65, when Mr. Reed blew by at a high rate of speed, myself and Deputy Chief Adams actually started that pursuit. And we pursued for a while until Mark Cars got in the pursuit, and then they took over. And then myself and Deputy Chief Adams backed off. So we were no longer in the pursuit, and then of course later on we heard over the radio of the police action shooting.
So I know part of your mission here in talking about whether it's this case or others is transparency. We wanted to look a bit closer at the Dre'Jon Reed case as well, so we also wanted to see what the bigger picture looks like. I requested about 5 years of data on IMPD shootings, so here's what we found, and we wanted to talk to you about that. So there have been fewer cases of officers shooting and killing people in Indianapolis, but nearly every year, despite almost all suspects being armed, officers mostly shot and killed only black men. So for instance, this year, officers opened fire in 6 different instances, 3 white people shot at but not hit, 3 black people dead. So what's causing this racial disparity with deadly force?
I don't know that I can answer that accurately. You know, none of our officers go out. They don't start their day or their shift looking to get into gunfire with people. You know, as they patrol the streets or as they respond to calls, sometimes those are the actions that need to be taken. But we certainly don't look at a race of a suspect or anything like that. It's, you know, it's what's presented to the officer, and they react as their training requires them to do, and they try to take steps from not having to fire weapons, but sometimes that ultimately is the decision that is made, and that's the decision they're left with.
We know there are advocates for change, Chief, as well as those who are out on the streets protesting who hear that and still say, well, something must be wrong here because the numbers show differently. Is there implicit bias training or different training that you have that might address anything that could cause an issue with race and use of deadly force?
Well, we do have implicit bias training. That is to combat issues of race. All of our officers go through that, starting with them in the academy, but all of our officers that are on the street have been through that, and we continue to train to that.
And I do want to also talk about a study here, walk you through what University of Chicago Law School found. Researchers, they looked at the use of force, human rights, and both of them merging. And out of 20 major metro police departments, Indianapolis ranked last. So here's our report card from the study on legality of IMPD policy and meeting state law. Department received 5 points on necessity, meaning Indianapolis officers use force only when absolutely necessary and the last resort. 0 points for IMPD. On proportionality, meaning the use of force is proportional to the threat, IMPD received 0 points. And then lastly, for accountability, that's within the department, Metro Police scored 5 points. So that is a total here of 10 out of 100 possible points. So Chief, when you hear that, how did we get this failing grade, and do some of the recent policy changes you have made address this, and if so, how?
Well, the main thing that's changed in our policy is we realized that we were one of only 3 major cities that did not have proportionality in the policy. So we have put proportionality into our use of force policy in hopes that it helps out from that standpoint. We haven't started yet training to that. We do have to have that signed off by the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy has to ultimately sign off on our training, but our intention is to have that included in that training, to have all of our officers trained into that by next year, preferably the beginning of the year. So that's our goal. That's what we're going for. As for those other numbers, I haven't seen that study, so I haven't had a chance to really pick through that and find out why we only had 10 out of the 100. But I'd certainly be willing to look at that to try to gain something from it.
Well, one other quick thing before we move on to our next topic here. So one of the other parts of this conversation on race, policing, it is those interactions, the experiences that people are having with law enforcement. And then when it comes to feeling protected and public safety, we saw a black and white divide in the numbers there too. So an NYU law survey found that 66% of white Hoosiers in Indy feel safe. That is compared to 59% of Hispanic Latino Hoosiers and 56% of black Hoosiers who feel safe. So how will you reach your goal of community policing as black and brown neighbors feel less safe than white neighbors?
Sure. Well, I think part of what we have to do is obviously have to continue to come to the table and have those necessary conversations. You know, in the beginning of this, you mentioned some uncomfortable conversations. I think those are necessary until they become comfortable conversations. We need to be able to sit down and really see what each other needs. You know, from the law enforcement standpoint, we obviously would want people to listen when we tell them to do things, and in hopes that things go smoother. I understand from the community standpoint, they don't have trust for whatever reason, maybe things they experienced or their family experience coming up. I think we have to be cognizant of that and realize that everyone didn't grow up the same way, and that there may be concerns from a particular race, and I think we have to take those things into account. The good news, though, I believe our officers are capable of doing that. I believe there's many of them that do that on a daily basis to try to bridge those gaps. I've seen it in action, and I totally believe that we'll get over this hump at some point. It may take some time, but those conversations are going to happen, and we're going to have to get more comfortable with each other and realize that we're really no difference besides maybe the color of the skin. The insides are all the same. The experiences different people have, we have to take into account.
Well, Chief, we appreciate you kicking off this conversation with us, so I'm going to hand it off now to Nick McGill, who picks it up from here.
Pierre Show, thank you. And as with any new set of rules or guidelines comes the issue of enforcement and accountability. Now, one issue we often hear about when it comes to police holding each other accountable is what's known as the blue wall of silence. That's a term used to describe an unwillingness of officers to, quote unquote, turn against each other in incidents where rules are violated. Now, IMPD's new use of force policy states any officer who directly observes or has actual knowledge of a violation of this use of force policy must report it to a supervisor as soon as practical. And while the onus to say something is certainly on the individuals here, true reform comes from systems. So, Chief Taylor, what system does IMPD currently have in place to ensure that officers report these incidents as required? How do you encourage officers, and I'm going to use a law enforcement term here, who see something to say something?
Sure. Well, you know, like I said, I've been in law enforcement 33 years, and I have yet to see an officer that is not willing to speak up when they see something really wrong. And I don't doubt that our officers would do the same. You know, probably about a couple months ago now, I had a meeting with a group of citizens that wanted us to have a kind of an anonymous line that officers could call into. And granted, we're still trying to make that happen, but I believe it's just around the corner. But along with this policy, you could, you know, if you want to call in anonymously, then we can at least start looking at whatever that problem may exist. But with the policy, officers are basically demanded to let their supervisor know what happened. But this is another one of those things. I have not seen that be a problem in all my years of law enforcement. We've got good officers that want to make sure that the things that they do, the way they go about their job, the pride that they take in that is imitated across the board. I won't say it couldn't have happened, and there certainly could have been cases where I may have missed, but I have not been made aware of anything like that. And I believe our officers, if someone really got out of line, I believe they would tell the supervisor. We've had examples of that happen before, so I'm confident that they'll do the right thing.
I'm curious, with this new policy, Chief, is there any structure in place then for an officer who may be found to have knowledge of an incident and not come forward?
Well, all of our policies are subject to discipline. So we have what's called a disciplinary matrix that takes into account the level of the violation. So all of our officers start out on a level 1, and depending on the violation, the severity of that violation dictates what that discipline could be. It could be anything from a letter of reprimand all the way up to termination.
And real quick, just how soon, if you could give us maybe a timeline here, of when do you think that anonymous system will be in place?
I would imagine it could be in place within the next month or so. It's just a number that that we already have a group that's willing to pay for. That will, once we get that number out, then they will be able to call into that line, and someone will check it and forward it on to probably internal affairs.
Okay, Chief Taylor, thank you. We're also joined today by Rick Snyder, who's the president of the Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police. Rick, you represent each individual officer just as much as the entire department. So I'm curious here, how are officers reacting to these new reporting requirements, to these new guidelines, and in your view, are they realistic?
Well, on the reporting requirements, we fully support them. We've been actively engaged with management of the police department on behalf of all of our officers. And it's something that we fully support and want to see happen as well. Just to dovetail into the chief's perspective, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find officers who aren't willing to speak out on their own and draw attention to something they see that appears to be in violation of not only policy but perhaps even law. That's what we do. Obviously, when you look at the challenges that we face throughout our city, our officers are constantly interacting with the community, with one another, and we are in a large urban environment where it's rare that any officers are solely interacting with members of the community unless it's the initiation of a traffic stop or something such as that. So we feel comfortable with it. We're very confident in that process. It's codified in the policy, but the process has always been there, and we fully support that.
Gotcha. Rick, you also have your finger on the pulse, if you will, of the morale of the department. So I'm curious, for the past 3 months, the conversations we've been having here in the city, where things are going, how are officers responding in general to what's going on? Is there something that maybe the public would need to know about how officers are feeling about all this?
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that, we have been asked routinely, what's the morale like of our law enforcement officers? And I think it's because neighbors, residents, business owners, they know that that's vitally important. We have for many years had a woefully understaffed police department. And thanks to leaders, both elected and not elected, but elected leaders such as Councilor Lewis, who was president of the council at the time, who stepped forward and helped make it possible for us to have the additional funding to hire the number of officers that we need. You have to remember, we are just now approaching the bare bones minimum levels of staffing that our community and our residents said that they needed to fulfill the service that they expected from their police department. And, our officers have worked for many years through those challenges. As of late, I can just tell you, where we saw the real fracture for morale of our law enforcement officers was when there were very public threats made against officers and their families. And we did not see any real outcry from our elected leadership and our appointed leaders that our officers serve. And that was a clear demarcation in the line of where the morale really took a nosedive in the police department. We took steps to provide some tangible metrics to that, so it wasn't just saying, hey, we think it's down. And we were astonished at the results that we got from a very well-validated survey of the members of the IMPD that show that they have anywhere from 80 to 90% of our officers do not have a high level of morale in their day-to-day job responsibilities. That's critical, especially in a public safety function where the service is the tangible outcome. It isn't a product. It isn't something that's being sold. It's an actual service to the residents of our community. And I think they feel that in the conversations that we hear from neighbors throughout the community. When we talk to business owners, that's their primary concern when we talk to them. They do not want less policing. They want better policing.
Yeah.
And they want policing that represents the constitutional rights of everyone involved.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, we agree. And so I think it's another example where the residents in the community and the officers who are protecting and serving that community really have more in common than we sometimes think. They are the only ones in the neighborhoods 24 hours a day, and unfortunately sometimes other folks are able to drive a wedge in between them and get them to point fingers at one another.
And that's something, Rick, that we're gonna dive back into as well in just a bit. For this next segment here, I want to bring in Wayne James from Indiana University. Wayne, you have spent your career studying and implementing law enforcement practices and strategies. One argument here against broad police reform is that it might create an environment where officers will be too concerned with making the wrong move and their ability to respond then becomes hampered. I want to ask you here, are these very legitimate concerns, and do they affect tangible outcomes here?
Yeah, I think those are, first of all, thank you for involving me in this panel discussion. And I want to say hello to Chief Taylor. I haven't saw him in a while, and everybody on this call. I think that does play a factor into it, but I think the important piece of that is education. And we have a union environment too within IUPD. We have over 220 officers across the state of Indiana that spread out across 9 counties. And the important piece of this is communication with them and with our union, and also our campus partners and the people we serve as well, so we can address those concerns before we roll something out.
Okay, Wayne, thank you. My next question now, I want to bring in City County Councilor Maggie Lewis. Maggie, as part of the justice reform agenda here, the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus proposed a licensing or certification program for law enforcement officers. Now, this is something that could potentially be done at the city level. So I'm curious here, has City Council discussed this or any of the other proposals currently being debated at the state level?
Yeah, so we are in constant communication with our state legislators. It's important that everyone understands that the City County Council here in our city, we get our authority and our power from our state legislators. And so it's important that we continue to communicate with them. Our laws, our policies cannot trump the state policies. And so we are reviewing everything and staying in constant conversations with them.
Gotcha. Thank you. Rick, I want to circle back to you here. After the events in Minneapolis, the chief of police spoke out on multiple occasions in defense of his officers, and we're going to play here some of what he had to say.
Our community members need to know that the men and women that put this badge on, that they are doing so in service to them, and they should not have to doubt. They should not have to doubt the integrity and if they're going to be treated in a compassionate and professional way.
Rick, those are words that reflect conversations you and I have had together many times. As calls for police reform increased, so did the voices of those who support officers. So what I want to ask you here is, what role does the public play in officers' morale, as we were discussing earlier, and do they feel the community is alienating them at this time?
Well, I think what we find is that many of the folks who have been marginalized the most in our community want and need our officers the most. And what we're actually seeing that doesn't get a lot of publicity is that in a lot of respects, this is driving members of the community and our officers closer together because, again, we see our need and our reliance upon one another. And also, we were very quick to speak out about what we saw in Minneapolis as well. And as the chief said, what we saw there does not match with the way officers are trained here in Indiana. And that cannot get lost in all this discussion. And quite frankly, that's the concern of many of our officers, is that we're not talking about George Floyd, that incident. We're not talking about some of those key components as much anymore, because here again, some other folks have driven a wedge into the conversation and tried to focus more on pitting people against one another than getting people to pull in the same direction with one another. And I think what many of the other folks here on this panel, who I've had a long, good relationship with many of the folks on this panel, I think one thing that they know for sure, at least from me and the folks that I represent, is our sincere commitment to not allow something such as the mere complexion of our skin to divide us. That's not why officers get involved in law enforcement and risk their lives, even for people that they don't know. They know that there are things bigger than themselves. And we have found that when we set differences aside and focus on things and think bigger about the challenges we face, there's nothing that we cannot overcome.
All right. Thank you, Rick, for that. I want to hear now from some of our other panelists on these topics. And I'm going to start here with Tony Mason, who leads the Indianapolis Urban League. Tony, in your opinion, that very gap that Rick was talking about there, how do we bridge that gap and heal any of this animosity between officers and the community that they serve?
Well, good evening, everyone. It starts with some of the changes that are being made, whether it's to the use of force policies, what's happening with training. But an important part of this is really going to be as we go forward, whether it's IMPD or any law enforcement entity, looking at their hiring standards, screening out individuals that display any signs of racial bias. It's going to be making sure that officers who've been fired or forced to resign from previous law enforcement jobs, that you don't hire them, that you start to recruit and hire officers that look like the people that they should be protecting and serving, that grew up in the city. It also is going to require a really strong look at how you effectively use early intervention systems to track data in identifying high-risk officers and to implement discipline, training, and dismissal when necessary. It's rooting out bad officers. It's also looking at rescinding state and local laws that provide undue protections to police officers, police unions, that prohibit effective and efficient disciplinary actions. The biggest challenge is trust, unfortunately, and maybe no one that's a part of this panel has had anything to do with that, but that's just the reality of the everyday existence for some, for many, for that matter.
So you hit on trust there, Tony, and as we know, trust takes a long time to build. I'm curious, are there things that can be happening right now that can help at least start to build that trust? That way we're better off in the future.
Well, again, looking at the culture and really making a concerted effort to get to know the people that law enforcement should be protecting. And that's still going to take time. It's tough to undo a history that, again, many of us that are involved in this discussion, whether it's Chief Taylor, Rick Snyder, and others, have had nothing to do with, but the distrust goes back decades. It goes back decades. We're talking about Michael Taylor to everything that's come forward. And then for many of the people that we serve at the Indianapolis Urban League, I can tell you over 50% of the people that come to us for services and assistance have had encounters with law enforcement in the past, or they're returning citizens. And so that creates a disposition and a challenge that makes it tough, not only for our residents, but it makes it even challenging for law enforcement as well.
Okay, Tony, and we're going to circle back to that, Tony, during our online portion of this. But for our next question here, I want to bring in Nia Hyatt Eldosuya. I'm sorry if I butchered your name here, Nia Hyatt. She's with Black Women in Charge. And Nia Hyatt, the sentiment here, Black Lives Matter, that's sometimes met with the response, and we're seeing it play out more and more, especially on social media, of Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter. Now, when you hear that, when you see those exchanges, when you hear people talk about those exchanges, what is your reaction to that?
I immediately think that that's blatant neglect of our suffering. there was an analogy made that I saw many places on social media about a burning house. So if there's a neighborhood full of houses and there's one single house that's caught on fire, that house needs attention. So the person comes running out and they say, my house matters. I need the fire department. And the fire department comes. It wouldn't make sense for anyone else to come out of their house and try and detract from the suffering of the house on fire and say that their house matters. So in saying that Black Lives Matter, it's not supposed to be malicious and ignore the fact that all human lives matter, but it's to draw attention to us right now during the suffering. And as far as police brutality being tied to Black Lives Matter, I think it should, on some level, be amplified just to human rights and to protecting human life.
The statement more inclusionary than it is exclusionary. We'll again be talking more about this on our online portion. I want to thank our panelists now for sharing our thoughts, and now I'll send it over to my colleague Debbie Knox.
Thank you, Nick. Well, following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, protesters called for change to law enforcement, including the defunding of police. Well, Brookings Institute sociologist wrote, defund the police means reallocating or redirecting funding away from the police department to other government agencies funded by the local municipality or city. In a New York Times op-ed, Philip McHarris, an advocate for the movement, explained municipalities can begin by changing policies or statutes so police officers never respond to certain kinds of emergencies, including ones that involve substance abuse, domestic violence, homelessness, or mental health. Instead, healthcare workers or emergency response teams would handle those kinds of incidents. Well, this idea, as we all know, ignited a very fierce debate. But I want to discuss this with our panel. Chief Taylor, we're going to circle back to you. How do you react to the phrase defund the police, and what does this mean to you?
Well, I think my concern with defunding the police is punitive. I don't agree with it. One, our budget is not fat, so whenever you're talking about removing money from our budget, there's going to be consequences to that. Now, I don't have as big an issue of when someone says, "What about reimagining?" I'm not as opposed to that if you can show me that. Let's say it's the examples you used with mental health and those things, although I believe we have officers, part of our MCAT team, that are very well trained to handle people with mental health issues and addiction issues. But if you were to say, we don't want the police to respond to that and we're going to remove some portion of your budget to do that, one, I don't think that amount would be very great, not great enough to really take care of the problem. But then two, you know, sometimes with those cases, you have violence associated with it. I don't know about social workers going out and trying to handle that. I guess my concern would be, well, are my officers still going to have to go back out there to deal with it? And if that's the case, then what was the point? Yeah. You know, when I hear about defunding, and I always hear along with that the systemic issues that go along with it, you know, education and housing and jobs and food insecurities and those things have existed for a long time, and no one has seemed to be able to find the money to address them to the point where they are no longer issues. In a police budget, if you were to take that whole budget, it's still not going to make a dent on those issues. So I guess, like I said, I'm willing to listen to reimagining things if it's going to help in certain ways, but I'm cautious about removing any type of money from our budget because, like I said, I think it's going to be a downside for other aspects of law enforcement that we do carry out.
You mentioned reimagining. We're going to get back to you on that in just a second, but first I want to go over to Rick. Rick, what's your take on the idea that social workers should respond to calls involving mental health issues or substance abuse? We've heard from the chief. What's your thinking about that? What do your officers believe?
Well, we always welcome the discussion because, quite honestly, it highlights many of the positive things that we do in Indianapolis. What gets lost in a lot of these discussions is that Indianapolis, and specifically our police department, but also our community partners, are some of the most progressive when it comes to a lot of these challenges that many other major cities face. One of which is we're one of the few major city police departments that train all of our police officers, all of our new officers coming on, and hundreds of our existing officers in critical incident training to be able to handle mental health runs where someone is experiencing some type of narcotics-induced delirium compounded with mental health challenges or illnesses. And we have hundreds upon hundreds of officers throughout our city at any given time that are specially trained for that purpose. That's because we've made the investments in those things. We also have what the chief talked about, which is the MCAT team. That's a mental health response team. Here's what's interesting to note in that. We had partners that were law enforcement, that were emergency medical services, and mental health counselors who formed a three-part team to respond to those such incidents. However, shortly into that work, where we were leading the way in the nation, it was our emergency medical services that pulled out of that partnership. And here's why they did it. They said there was no money in it for them. It did not fit their budgetary model. Well, they pulled out. Who was left holding that? It was the police officers, the police department. Now, we didn't have additional funding for that, but we take that on when no one else will. Go back to the late 90s when we deinstitutionalized a lot of our mental health facilities. The secondary promise that was made back then was the additional funding to provide services in the field so that it would not become a criminal justice or law enforcement matter. That never happened. That was a failure of elected leadership at the state level, quite honestly. And again, when no one else is left to do it, it gets placed into the hands of law enforcement. So we're the first to say there are many progressive ideas out there that we want to play a role in, and there are many other ways that other folks can partner in finding solutions.
All right. Rick, thank you. Neil, we're going to turn this over to you. We want to get what you think about defunding the police. We've heard from the two other gentlemen. What do you think? What immediate steps do you think you'd like to see city leaders take on in order to address some of these issues that they are faced with every day?
When it comes to defunding the police, I haven't looked at the full budget breakdown, but I do know that in simple terms, resources could be allocated towards training, towards better training, towards body cams, not towards riot gear, towards things that would offer the officers better resources. And when it comes to mental health, I heard Rick mention, I would say there are places of lack within the police department that may not need to be fixed by money, but they could also be fixed by simply improving them. So when it comes to mental health, I read the general orders, 4.6, I believe it was, about dealing with mental health patients while you're on the job. And when I read it, I was extremely upset to see that the only thing it discussed was testing whether or not they were on a drug. It did not discuss anything about how to approach this person, how to get them to calm down. And in situations like that, there's an intense psychological aspect in that. So maybe they need training from psychologists and other outside sources that aren't simply like the police department and the focus on. One thing I noticed, and we went to the training academy. I'm sorry, I'm going to elaborate just a tad more. We went to the training academy, then we got to speak to many officers. And one thing I noticed was that they said that there were two paramounts. One was that they're poor at interpersonal relationships and communication. And being police officers is really, really important for them to be exceptional at that. Another thing was that their main focus, one of the first things I always heard come out of their mouth, was about protecting the officers. And I think it's extremely important to protect the officers because they're humans too, but I don't think that that should by any means be the main focus or the first point that an officer starts at when their job is supposed to be protecting and serving the community. They should take preventative measures for themselves, but they should realize their role and their position in power, not abuse it.
You bring up great points because we're gonna review some of that, just what you're talking about. Thank you. One of the strategies that all police use is de-escalation. In fact, Sheriff Mike Chitwood of Volusia County, used to be from Daytona, Florida, actually traveled to Scotland with his force when he was in Daytona, where law enforcement officers use de-escalation pretty effectively in Scotland. Well, when his department adopted those de-escalation techniques and he came back to Florida, arrests dropped in his area by 30%. Well, Kimball Richardson, our licensed mental health counselor with Community Health, teaches de-escalation at the Law Enforcement Academy. And he showed me an example of how it looks and it sounds.
There are things that we can teach people on how to talk to someone who might be in a crisis that could help them feel more at ease. So, for example, if I were to tell you, you need to tell me what's going on with you. Okay, do you think that's going to engender people wanting to open up and feeling safe and wanting to talk about something personal? Probably not. But how about, I'd like to hear what you have to say. I want to help you. Let's see if we can work on this together. You know, it's the same almost amount of words if you do it just one sentence at a time, but the response you get usually is different.
Well, I want to hear from FOP President Rick Snyder. How realistic is it, Rick, to expect officers in these situations to use de-escalation language effectively?
Very realistic. We do every day. Again, a big piece that is missing here is IMPD is on the forefront of this very topic that we're talking about. Go and research other major police departments and you will find they do not have hundreds of officers trained as CIT officers, where they're trained in these exact things that Mr. Richardson just referred to. In fact, Kimball actually helps us in that training. And I think Nia brings up a very good point. It's important that we hear from voices outside of law enforcement as we're doing our training and learning new things and seeing different perspectives and breaking some of those paradigms that, frankly, our profession has been in for decades. But it's one of the great success stories, too, is the progress that has been made in such a challenging profession over those decades. We cannot lose that. And so that's one of the things that we have at the forefront in what we do. And so that we support it. We have proactively encouraged it from the FOP's perspective. We know that de-escalation can work. Every effort should be made to do that. We also recognize that, unfortunately, it doesn't always work. We are in violent times. And to Nia's point, you know, where an officer is always speaking to their safety first, that is trained to them. Much like we do on an airplane where we say, put your oxygen mask on before you help someone else, because if you don't, you can't help someone else. It's much the same for us. You got to remember the whole reason why we're there is because we want to help other people. But we have to keep ourselves safe to be able to keep others safe. And you got to remember in Indianapolis right now, in just the last 292 days, we've had 952 people shot or stabbed. We've got record-surging violence. Our officers are well aware of that. But we continue to take very proactive actions to de-escalate that violence, de-escalate the opportunity or the need for violence to really improve our community and keep our folks safe.
Rick, thank you. I'd like to invite some of our community leaders now to look into the future. We heard the chief talk about this and imagine realistically a police force of the future. How would it look? And what can we do together to bring that vision to a reality? Reverend Malachi Walker, I'd like to start with you. What do you imagine a police force of the future to look like?
Police force of the future is the type of force. It really is. It's just talking and working with the community and educating the community on the job that a police officer does. And when a police officer is called and they're trained to respond and they're trained to act in a manner, a respectful manner that towards the end of the day, everybody's going to go home safely. But police force, you know, there are some forces that the police inflict on people that are I feel that are appropriate, but they can't go overboard with it. And they can really get, you know, personal with it. But I feel that just start the force, you know, start off with is just really working with the community and talking and trying to de-escalate it before it turns into a point where some physical forces had to be inflicted. Yeah. But, you know, all that has to do is that the police officer just do exactly what they've been trained to do.
All right, Reverend, thank you. Tanya McKenzie, what's your vision For a police force of the future, what would the qualities be? A few of them.
I would just add to what Mr. Walker just said. I mean, I think the issue really, what we would like to see is a more robust community relations, community policing plan. I mean, I've heard a lot about, from the perspective of police officers, that they're out there talking to the community, but I'm hearing something different from the community side. And so police officers that have really, really good relationships with the community, which helps their intel, which increases our solve rate, which goes back to what Rick was talking about with respect to crime and as it relates to the community. Also, adequate training. I've heard a lot about training, but the question is, how much training? Is it sufficient training? We train educators in professional development. Training with so many hours, where does that get you? Is it adequate training? I mean, those are some of the conversations that I think, need to be discussed as it relates to police training. I know, over the last couple of years, IMPD has focused on diversity training, implicit bias training, and doing a lot of that. But that is a fair question right now is it adequate? Should there be more training in order to address implicit biases that do exist? And so, but the trust piece is critical. We can work on the policies, hopefully with respect to a lot of the policies that have been implemented under our chief will be permanent policies, because I know that's another discussion that's happening right now is what happens if the chief leaves next week? Are these permanent? And so those would be just some other things that I would add to the discussion with respect to what we would like to see.
You make great points. And we like your points, and we like the whole panel. A great discussion there. But let's switch gears right now and look at federal action at the federal level. And Fanchen will take over from here.
Debbie, thank you so much. We do want to talk about the impact of that federal reform on Indianapolis. Shortly after the death of George Floyd, President Trump called a White House roundtable on racial disparities in America and police reform. Former NFL player Jack Brewer, he was part of that conversation with so many other minority leaders around the country. He is a minister and a founder of the Council for Racial Reconciliation. He teaches in prisons and schools across the country. I had a chance to ask him what he feels is missing from some of these ongoing conversations that we're having on police reform. Watch.
And we don't have enough self-accountability. So let's look at the actual cities. Let's look at the actual police departments that have the issue, the actual people who are committing the crimes, or the people who are doing their job in a rogue fashion. Let's hold them accountable first. If we can't do that, we'll never get to the root cause of these issues, and we'll always continue to have this partisan divide. It's easy to blame something on someone else, but when it's happening in your house, you got to clean your own house first.
Yeah. So accountability, I want to start there. President Trump, the first to sign a federal executive order that in part, you see it on your screen, it creates a federal database of police officers with a history of excessive force complaints. It also includes a ban on the use of chokeholds by officers except when their lives are at risk. That order also promises to help departments get access to less lethal weapons. And President Trump says extra funding will be given to police departments to help our officers address homelessness, substance abuse, and mental illness. So, Chief Taylor, I do want to start with you on this one. You came out immediately here in Indianapolis. I want to give credit where credit's due. You promised accountability, transparency. You got right to that, especially surrounding the shootings and that excessive force case that we are still watching. So with that guidance that we're seeing now from President Trump issued at the federal level, what more would you like to see from our lawmakers and even our local leaders?
Well, I think he's off to a good start. We've implemented some of those things. Our new use of force policy has no chokeholds. Our own officers had requested that we consider removing the no-knock warrant part of police work, which we did. The good thing is we've got officers that are really committed to doing what's right. I think they all understand that really police work is always evolving. It should never be stagnant. And I think they're willing to look at those things just like I'm willing to look at those things. But
I think that's a good start, but I think the communications that we have with the citizens and what they're seeing, how we're reacting to things, how our officers are, both the good and bad of what our officers are doing is going to be important. I think people will find that really not only myself and my staff and Rick and the rest of our officers, we want what's best for the community as well. So we're not opposed to a lot of those things. It's a matter of sitting down and just discussing them. But we do want people to hear both sides of it, right? Just like we encourage people to go through our Citizens Police Academy to get an idea of how officers are trained and what they're up against on a daily basis in order to help them be more informed about the kind of things we're doing, and they understand why we do some of the things we do. I worked internal affairs for a number of years, and I know one of the things that I heard very often was people would tell me that they would never do that to an officer or whatever. And I would have to tell them, the officer doesn't have the luxury of knowing you personally, so they don't know what you're going to do. And unfortunately, we have officers that have been killed, maybe because they weren't as aware of different things going on that they should have been aware. So it's a give and take, really,
Yeah.
right? That we have to understand where the community's coming from. The community has to understand where we're coming from. The only way that happens is by those continued conversations and trying to be in the other person's foot.
Absolutely, and conversation is so very important. When we get to our online session, I want to talk to Nia Hyatt about what she wants to see more further coming out of that conversation as well. Right now, though, I want to get to some of the other core issues. We know police reform is just one part of the equation when we talk about racial disparities. I also had a chance to ask Jack Brewer about how he challenged the president to do more when it comes to those core issues. He is now actually working with the White House on legislation that's being drafted as we speak, addressing equal public school funding, entitlement programs that don't take money away from moms who want to get married, child support laws with employment assistance and help for dads who want to be in there and involved with their children, and also fatherlessness, which, as we all know, is a crisis right now. So many of our young people do not have positive role models to help them stay on a path to success. So let's talk about some of these other core issues. And Reverend Malachi Walker, I want to start with you because you are not only identifying those young role models in our community, you're also shaping role models. And I've worked extensively with you on some of your program. You're working with the next generation. What resources do you need from the city, from the state, from our nation's leaders to continue to uplift our young people?
Well, when it comes to resources, the resources nowadays are few, but I know when you talk about funds as a resource, that is a valuable resource, and absolutely it does take funds to do that. But also, it's going to take the collaboration of different people coming to the table and working together. And one resource that I've always talked about is, if you're working, I've been working with young people basically all my life, ever since I was a teenager. Yeah. And one of the problems I had in getting to an organization or to a boys club or something like that, it didn't have the transportation to get certain places. And that's something that stuck with me all my life until when I started working with young people and applying for the funding. One of the main things in that funding was transportation, to be able to go and to be able to supply to work with young people to get them to the places and be able to do things with. So there's so many resources that are out there, but majority of the resources does take funding.
Reverend Walker, what I hear you saying is really it's going to be a community effort, and it takes all of us working together. And there are so many opportunities for anyone watching right now to get involved and to volunteer your time in addition to the funding that's so needed. Tony Mason, I want to bring you in. You've had a seat at the table for so many of these conversations. I've seen you out and about many places, especially when it comes to police reform and racial injustice. Where would you like to see us go from here when we talk about some of these other core issues?
Well, we have to address issues around poverty. African Americans make up 250,000 people in Indianapolis. That would be the third largest city if we represented a city in this state alone. And nearly 30% of Black people in this city live in poverty. If you look at United Way data, and if you look at Indianapolis and Central Indiana, nearly 40% of all people are either classified as poor or working poor. We have the substantial issue around affordable housing.
Yeah.
We know that right now, thousands of families are facing eviction in this city, whether it be from their inability to pay rent or their inability to pay mortgage. We have food deserts all over this city. I can tell you that 4 months ago, we were not in the hunger relief business at the Urban League.
And that is one thing that we have had to take into account. We do have to wrap. I'm so sorry to step in on you there, Tony. We're going to talk more about that in our next portion, but our conversation definitely does not end here, Debbie.
In fact, we have other topics to address in our online conversation, which starts right after this on Fox59.com and CBS4Indy.com.
A new day, a new chapter is here.
This is the tipping point for policing in America.
In Indiana, we're at the crossroads.
I call it a bittersweet moment, right? Seeing Black bodies fall, with police violence over and over. Very bitter, very bitter. But the sweet part of it is how people this time decided to respond.
Hoosiers following in the footsteps of our nation's civil rights pioneers.
You have a moral obligation to say something, to do something.
Voices in solidarity are now rising up, from the steps of the State House to the chambers inside it.
Is there more work to be done? Heck, yes.
There's a mainstream problem, and that it needs to be changed.
We don't want them to judge us because of the color of our skin, but let's not judge them because of their uniform either. So let's come together and do what we can and just push the bad people out.
Activists and lawmakers have come to the table.
We're out here trying to spread the message of love and equality.
And in our neighborhoods, Hoosiers have stepped up too.
We want to make sure that the Black community here knows that they are seen and heard and loved and supported.
Showing that they're willing to listen.
What makes me feel good is that I know some of my fellow white brothers and sisters are locking arm in arm and saying, I understand it, I get it, I see the hurt, I see the pain, what can I do?
And that is the question we must all now ask. And some of the youngest among us are helping to bring answers.
We can end racism together, and one heart, one mind change could help the world be different.